we got 20 minutes. I think that's probably a really good time for talking about closures. And
Closure.
ironically, it'll be the end, so we'll have closure.
Yeah. This is kind of like part of the whole functions theme that we have been covering for a little while, right? It's something that we do want in certain situations, but if you don't know how to use them correctly, they can backfire very hard on you. All right. So whatever I'm telling you right now, just think about it in the context of, is this really what I need? All right. So what is it? What is a closure? Closures are a type of function, is what they are. Let me share my screen. We have a function here. Let's call it, show text that does some things. All right. So there's some code in there. But what happens with this particular function is that is some sort of complex function. Let's say that is show fixed text. And one of the things that it does is that it takes a string, and here's what it does. It go ahead and removes new lines. It removes strips, trailing and leading and trailing spaces. But it also does some other things, and one of the things is converts to sentence case. The reason why I'm doing that one and not others is because you have string upper and string lower and string title. So title case, the one for title, let me see, hold on. Where's the title here? It modifies each first letter of each word, and each word will have the first character made uppercase. All right. All right. So as you can see, each word is uppercase. But what I don't have is a sentence case. That's what I don't have. So sentence case is different because sentence case would make the first character uppercase, all the other lowercase, and then it ends in a period. So on each period, you have the first character uppercase, and that's it. Not every single one of the characters. So string title is not helping me. String lower and upper is not helping me. I have to do something else. So I don't have this. So I want to create that function called sentence case. But here's the thing. This function called show fixed text is the one that is going to use that, but I don't want anybody else to use this function. That's where that's the part that I said is tricky. You have to know when to use this. Look at what I'm saying here is I can create a function that is closed into a given function and nobody else can use it. So it's kind of like private, so to speak. This function only exists within show fixed text and nobody else can use it. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to define string sentence, which doesn't exist. It takes a string, and what it does is that it grabs the first character in the string per period, all right? And it will do whatever it's supposed to do. So what we're going to do is regex replace string, and it would do, I will just return that. It would be everything up to a period and grab the first character in there. And this is a quotation mark there, and this is actually a backspace. So something like that I will do, and that's what I'm going to do with uppercase one, sorry, one, something like that. It's really annoying. It's just like, oh, where is it? Dollar. Uppercase one, whatever it is, and then the other part, which is this whole thing. I will use it with the period too, and something like that. And the idea here is, okay, I don't want this, I want that in here. All right. I will capture one character, capture everything else up to the period, a sentence, and I will make the first one uppercase and the second one, whatever it was, I will just put it there because those are two different groups and whatever. That's it. It's very stupid. I don't think this is exactly what I need. But the point is, that's what string sentence does. Now I can use that function inside the fixed text. I would say, hey, right? And I can continue doing the other parts in which are fixed trim, right? And in here, new lines, string. So yeah, string replace. So here's what I'm doing. I'm removing the new lines. I'm removing the trailing and leading spaces. And then I defined a sentence called string sentence, I guess, inside, and I defined this function inside this function. And that's the keyword there. This is a function that is only defined inside another function. And this is just called a closure so that we know when you talk about a closure, you're talking about a function that only exists within a different function at this point. How do I know that that is true? Well, if I try to use it outside of it, you will see an error. This will give me an error because this has never been assigned string sentence. See? So I get an error or a warning because that function is not something that can be used outside of this. Now, if I call my actual functions here, that is the show fixed text, this one I can call, and it can call string sentence because within itself, you do have this variable defined, and it will not actually give me any errors. It will just try to return whatever it was before that is supposed to return. This is incorrect. I have to regex replace that. I have to actually do what it's supposed to do. I don't remember exactly how this goes. I will see exactly what this is supposed to do, but you notice that I didn't get an error. And that's the point. Let me just do this. Let's see. I need a character. All right. All right. And then there it goes. That should give me the correct thing. Is this V1? No, this is not V1. Okay, that's weird. I'm not sure why is it doing that. Oh, I know why it is. Because I have to pass it the string though. And now this is going to be here. There it is. So this is doing the correct thing. Now, going back to the main idea is string sentence is a function that is defined inside show fixed text. So I can call show fixed text. It removes the spacing, it adds the capital letters and so on, but it does so by calling string sentence inside itself. That's okay. Why? Because string sentence is defined inside show fixed text. As it is defined inside it, you can call it. But because this is defined inside this, then you cannot use it anywhere else because this is private to this function. It is only this function who can use it. If you try it anywhere else, then you get a warning and an error. If you continue, it would be an error. Hey, this doesn't exist. It's going to tell you that.
Well, is this, can you outside of it, can you define that same, use that same function name and will it
That's a great question. So let's say if I duplicate the sentence,
which is a
right?
horrible idea. Don't get me
It
wrong.
is a horrible idea. It should actually throw an error. It should say, well, at least when I use it both, so I'm going to try and do this. I'm going to have to, I don't think it should throw an error because this one is defined inside the fixed text and it's just going to be used inside that. And one fixed text finishes, then it doesn't exist anymore. So that when I try to use it, it should be outside. But let's see what it really does. All right. One works. Two kind of works. It has a few spaces out around it. I know that there are spaces there. But because I didn't use any other, I didn't fix anything else, right? So it is working. You can do, because this is one thing
Where's the scope?
and this is another.
Yeah, right, right.
They're not the same thing, really.
And like I said, in my head, even though we're not doing that, I think of them as like a namespace, like an object dot notation path. And that's why in my head, like that does work because
Right.
it's actually a full different path, right? But yeah.
Yes. That should not be an error because the context is different. That's correct. The context right here is different. I just didn't know whether when that function was created, whether it stayed in memory the whole time with that name, and it doesn't. Because as soon as the scope of show fixed text finishes, then it's gone. Now, let me see if I do it the other way around, because if I call the global function, the global function is always there. It doesn't disappear. So when I call show fixed text, would it clash with the existing one or not? I don't know. This one works and this one works. So no, they don't clash. A local private version of it is created, is used, but then we go out and that's it. So again,
Stephen asked if you can make the nested function global.
no, there is no way to do that. So that's the one thing, and that's the reason why I started with that. When we at the beginning, when I started talking about this, you have to know when to use this. And the way how I figured it out is if I have a function that I only use for this thing, then I can build it inside and I know that nobody else is going to use it. That's the only time when I use closures. It's just when I know it's a private function that I only do it in this function. That's it. Because I don't want this whole thing to be filled with a lot of function names that I never use, right? I never use this function for anything else than when I'm showing this fixed text. Then why should I define a global function for that? But yeah.
And I don't, it might be somewhat relevant, but I remember years ago talking to a really advanced programmer and talking about inheritance and this and that. And he said, that also when you want to limit, when you are communicating between programs and you don't want people to have access to certain things, like that's how you can protect it, right? Is you make
Right.
it a way where they don't actually have it. They can still indirectly call it. They can get the results, but you don't want your black box revealed.
Exactly. The reason why you don't want the black box is because it leads to breaking stuff. That's it. But sometimes it's good to hide stuff. Sometimes it's good to let them see it. But in this case, as Russell just said, like, oh, okay, so I have been using show fixed text for this function all the time. But now I need that same function in another function that I have. How can I have it for both? Yeah, just grab and move it outside of show fixed text. Now everybody has access to it. Now you're good. Hopefully that helps. Again, we're covering the same kind of like general topic about learning about functions. And this is a very interesting topic regarding functions and the scope of functions. This is not possible in V1. V1 does not have closures. So if you try to do something like this in V1, you're going to get an error because it's going to tell you that you cannot define functions inside functions. That's what it says. But for V2, yes, you can use it. But for now, I wish you could do something like this so that you have a variable like this and then make it public or global. I don't know, maybe using the word global. And that's it. That would be good because that way I don't have to move my code. I just mark it and everybody can use it. But for now, that's not doable right now.
Anyone have any questions on closures? Did you get closure on your
Have
closure?
you ever have you ever actually used a closure before?
Yeah, we've just been trying to.
Yes, I'm using closes in the JavaScript quite a lot because of
Awesome.
in JavaScript it's usual to use closures. No problem.
Yeah.
And we've just been covering functions like we've been talking about. Functions alone are just so powerful, and they're most of them. The options with them aren't crazy complex. That one, it's a bit harder to picture a use case, right? Unless you're a more advanced programmer. But intro programmers, all the other stuff, we've covered a lot of different things with functions, and they're crazy powerful.
Why do you suppose they call it a closure? Doesn't seem to describe it well. They should call it.
That's a great you're pointing out something that I also thought about. Like, why the hell are they called closures? Like, what does that even mean?
They're called closures because the
It's
function
it's called
closes
closure.
over.
I can tell you, Isaias, it's called
Okay.
closure because of a closed function can use the closed variables inside the outer function. That's why it's called closures. So they when you have a function, then in that function you can make variables, and this variable is available in the closure afterwards, and that's why they're called closures.
Joe, you were actually also saying something. Let me see which one makes more sense to me. Let me
I
see.
just read what AI said. I put in the hero group.
Okay.
But yeah, it said
Let's say they're called function closures because the function closes over the variables from its surrounding scope, which is what he's saying.
Yeah.
Meaning it captures them and keeps them alive even after that outer scope has finished executing, which is interesting. So basically, in your main script, let me share my screen again. What I'm understanding by that is you see this variable right here called fixed. When I create it, it is only local to show fixed. I cannot use the word fixed outside of the scope of this function. But interestingly enough, and yes, I can do this. I can show you that I can do this. You see how I'm passing a string in there saying fixed in there? I don't have to. I can actually not pass it. And I can refer to fixed in there because this function is aware of all the variables from the previous scope.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
And now it is that after the function show via fixed text is ended, even then the string sentence knows about it and can use it.
Right. So I know that that is a thing. I didn't know that the word closure had anything to do with the variables, and still doesn't make much sense. So the word fixed here, yeah, I know that is in the scope of show find text, and now these guys become global variables for string sentence because string sentence looks at all the variables above it as if they were global to it. So I can refer to them without actually passing them in. I don't like that, by the way. I usually like better passing it, and I have full control of it, and they have their own copies. But you don't have to. If you don't want to do it, you don't have to, because that's what closures do. They can see the variables above as kind of like global to them. I still don't really understand the combination of variables and closure, the word closure in that. But in any case, that's why it has been used in many other languages for a long time. AutoHotkey just brought it up in version 2. And I have been using it very often for functions that I use only inside a specific context. In this case, it would be show fixed text. That's my context. And within that context, I say, I'm going to use this function just within this one thing.
I suppose, Isaias, that the class concept was not available in V1. Is that right?
No, it was not. That's it.
Okay,
Right.
and that's because of the closure is connected with classes. That's why. That's why it is now available in V2, because of classes are available in V2.
Yes,
So,
it is.
and in fact, the closure is part of the class environment.
That is correct. So the fact that AutoHotkey V2 moved into that direction allowed the closures to exist normally, because in V1 that was not really a thing. We didn't have scope as we do right now. So hopefully, if you guys learned a little bit from this, you can use it in your own things. If you have questions, of course, we are in the chat answering them.